What's going on, guys? The Balkan Gamer here, and today I want to touch on maybe the most important question a gamer in quotes might ask themselves. What made you fall in love with video games? I'll assume no one forced you to click on this video, so it's obvious you and me share the passion of video games. So, I couldn't think of a better video to be the first on this channel. The first of many to come, as I've decided it's time for me to put my thoughts, feelings and ideas out there in the wild for you guys. Actually, to be completely honest, it's the perfect excuse for me to vent about this wonderful medium that I've been a part of for many years now. I've used the word passion for video games, and I want to re-emphasize it. Some people just play video games out of boredom or for lack of anything better to do, and that's completely fine. But for me, video games are a lot more than a pastime. They are, well, a passion. I do not feel in any way, shape or form that I'm wasting time when I play video games. Some people play video games when they have nothing better else to do. Some people make time in order to play video games. You can safely assume on which side of that coin I rest. I honestly hate the term wasting time, not only in general, but especially when it comes to video games, because for some reason playing games falls easily in that category. Why? Why isn't reading a book considered a waste of time? Why isn't going for a walk wasting time? Why couldn't spending 4 years in a college never be considered a waste of time? And isn't literally everything that we do wasting time? So if everything is wasting time, then nothing is wasting time. But that's a discussion for another time. Now, for every single one of us that's passionate about gaming, there had to be a turning point. Maybe for you it was literally the first game you played. Maybe it was the 10th game that turned you from a casual enjoyer of video games to an aficionado. Well, for me, as you already know from the title of this video, it was Gears of War. The 2006 Xbox 360 masterpiece that perfected the third-person shooting genre. I remember that moment perfectly when I first booted that game. But before we get to that, I need to tell you my gaming backstory, as it were. My dad bought a PC back in, heck if I know, 98, 99 maybe, and it was a huge deal for us. Being from Eastern Europe, having a PC in the household was a pretty big flex, at least back in the day. It was running an MS-DOS operating system, and I still remember the game that my dad and I played the most. It was a random game called Color Buster, and just looking at this gameplay footage brings back so many memories for me. Even back then I remember my dad used to call me downstairs when he was playing it and needed my help for some trickier levels. The fast keyboard fingers of a 10-year-old cannot be understated. I felt good, as you can imagine, being able to do something that he couldn't. Or, who knows, maybe he just pretended in order to make me feel better. But I doubt it. I really had fast fingers. If it wasn't blatantly obvious so far, I'm a very nostalgic person. I have a very vivid memory of me playing an Indiana Jones demo, but I had no idea how to get past the first room. I didn't even realize back then that you can actually leave that particular room. But I spent hours and hours playing pretend, lashing my whip at walls, imagining I was killing skeletons and snakes and whatnot. I miss those simpler times, when everybody didn't have OCD induced by scrolling through TikTok and Instagram Reels for hours on it. Anyway, the years passed and I started graduating gaming-wise, playing random adventure games like Pepper's Adventures in Time or The Secret of Monkey Island, and many more that I don't even remember. Then I played the classics like GTA, starting with 2, and then spending hundreds of hours playing GTA 3 at 15 frames per second, loving every minute of it. But I can't say I realized how much video games meant to me just yet. That was until 2006, when I bought a brand new Xbox 360. Old PC out, brand new game console in. It's hard for me to put into words what I felt playing Gears of War for the first time. But I'll do my best. Imagine a 15-year-old boy who enjoys video games holding that brand new 360 controller, pressing that B button and chainsawing a locust right in half. I could not believe what my eyes saw or my hands felt. The way that controller vibrated when you started the chainsaw, the way it felt when shooting your weapon, the feedback you got. It just blew my mind. I could not put that game down. Finally, I had a brand new game that ran like butter and looked like a movie. It was at that point in time I realized I adore video games, because no book, movie or TV show made me feel anything similar. I was moving the story forward. I was the hero saving the world from the monsters. I was so immersed in that world I felt invincible. And boy, how lucky I was that my first console game was an absolute masterpiece. As it turns out, almost 20 years later, Gears of War perfected a third-person shooter. Regardless of how you feel about the story, the characters, or the world building, I challenge you to find a third-person shooter in another series that feels better. You won't. Yes, the enemies get quite spongy, especially on higher difficulties, but I wouldn't consider that a flaw. It's way more immersion breaking in a game like The Division, where you can headshot a human enemy 10 times and you barely made a scratch to their health bar. The Locusts are horrible beefy monsters, so it makes a little more sense they can take more bullets before falling. And even so, when you pin that beautiful long shot bullet right to their brain, they pop like melons in the most satisfying way possible. Now, for the story, you'd be surprised to find out, at least I was, that these characters who look like professional football players that have steroid sandwiches for breakfast can touch your heart in ways that not even Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams can. You really grow to love Marcus, Dom, Baird, and Cole. Diving into the actual gameplay of Gears of War, replaying it now for this video, I was pleasantly surprised of how diverse the actual gameplay is. Now, to be fair, for a title that sits on 9 hours completion time for the main story on How Long to Beat, I wouldn't consider diversity the hardest thing to achieve, but it's impressive nonetheless. For instance, a nice change of pace from the regular gameplay is in Act 2 Nightfall, where you get to drive Alan Wake's version of the Batmobile, the Alan Wake-mobile, where your only weapon is a UV ray gun that will fry up any of the krill that tries to swarm you. Being a complete junker, your vehicle can either move forward or use the turret, but not both at the same time. As you can imagine, this particular mission is way more fun in co-op, as one of you drives and the other one shoots. Remember, these actions can be performed at the same time, so not yelling at your co-op partner during this mission is impossible. Another very cool gameplay moment happens a bit earlier in the game, where you need to light your partner's way in order to not get brutally killed by the krill. Again, playing this section in co-op is where the magic truly happens. But the meat of the game is obviously third-person shooting. Look, I'm in my mid-30s now. I've been a gamer in quotes for a couple decades now, so I have thousands of gaming hours under my belt. But the gunplay in the Gears franchise is the best third-person shooting I've ever felt in a video game. I would argue Tom Clancy's The Division is the franchise that comes closest in terms of third-person shooting, but Gears still takes the cake on that one. Actually, I dare you to come up with a more satisfying headshot than popping Locust's brains. Look and listen to this. Moving on, I was pleasantly surprised on a particular mission where nothing happened. Judging by what I just said, I'm either the easiest to impress human that has ever lived, or I've learned to appreciate, in retrospect, where developers actually respect me as a player. At the beginning of Act 3 in the mission Downpour, there's a puzzly section where you need to activate 2 switches in order to power up an elevator. While I was playing, I activated one of the switches and was struggling to find the second one. And I kept searching and nothing happened. Silence. You catch my drift yet? I'll help you out. I suddenly realized, thank you for the love of God, that Dom didn't say, hey Marcus, I think if we check that building right here where I'm standing now, we might find a green button or something. I don't know, but maybe you should come here right now. Here, you never know what might be in here. You know what I mean? All the dialogue in this game is smartly written, funny, and not cringy at all. It's what makes these characters feel like real people, like they actually care for one another. And that's what makes you care for them too. In fact, one of the most emotional moments I've experienced in a video game comes from Gears of War 2, which I'm not gonna spoil here for those who haven't played it, but for those who have, you absolutely know what I'm referring to. Now, I'm not gonna go through Gears of War bit by bit, as this video is not a review of the game per se. It's just a nostalgic trip down memory lane, looking back at what made me fall in love with video games in the first place. All that being said, I do think it's quite timely to talk about Gears of War, as Gears of War Reloaded has just been announced, and finally the PlayStation community will be able to experience this absolute masterpiece that set the highest bar in terms of third-person shooting. Now, before ending this video, I'm genuinely curious to know, what is the title that made you fall in love with video games? Leave your answers down in the comments, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and until next time, may you find things to enjoy in your life every single day.